All the uncertainty in the market right now, which industrial stocks can you rely on to help you build a solid portfolio and make some money? Well, here to look at some of the market hotspots in the sector is Nick Heymann, analyst for William Blair. Nick is among the most accurate analysts on multiple stocks, including Bombardier, Cooper Industries, as well as Tyco. All right, Nick Heymann, you've landed in New York long enough just to have this. I appreciate your coming in here. Before we get into specific names, we want to do 3M, we want to do Tyco. European debt crisis, U.S. debt ceiling negotiations. Great news, you say, for CEOs because everyone's paying attention to those big news events. Tell me about the reaction between what happens to those big macro issues and chief executive officers of real companies.
Well, I think certainly it's going to restrain some of the guidance that we'll get on forward guidance until we get a better handle on whether there is a domino issue in Europe. Whether or not we're on a Band-Aid, touch and go 3 months or 6 months at a time type of fix out of Washington. But certainly right now there seems to be, fearing the worst as we wait to see if we're going to have a deal. It's got to show up at the end of this week. And if not, well, then we'll probably get ready to have our debt downgraded a notch or so and then be off the races. But there are a few companies that probably are well enough positioned to be able internationally and in emerging markets to be able to put up some good scores.
Now, you also say that there are 3 characteristics that the stocks and or the companies would have to exhibit in order to get people excited, right? I mean,
low expectations.
Right, low expectations, solid guidance.
Solid earnings beat.
Right.
And then a corresponding increase in their guidance. And the increases will probably be pretty scarce this quarter. I mean, I think we'll have good performance. But I think most management will be sitting on their hands on the guidance.
All right, tell me about 3M and the management there.
Well,
New management,
yeah. We got Inge Thulin, who's taken over as Chief Operating Officer, seems to be certainly a leading contender to succeed Mr. Buckley. And David Mullane is CFO, and he's taken over for Pat, the former CEO, retired May 1st. And they really have it pretty well locked up right now in the emerging markets. 36% of the company, growing 3 times as fast as the local economy, which in turn is growing 2 to 3 times as fast as the developed economies. And that's all share. That's just basically, it's like a rocket ship ready to take off from 15 to 20% to try to move towards 40 or 50% by the middle of the decade.
And they want to change really investor perception of the company, right? From being something that's incredibly cyclical to an industrial cash flow machine. Right,
and an above average growth, company. And they were out speaking at the William Blair Growth Conference here in mid-June, and I asked, Inge said, well, if this is all set, what's next? And they said, well, the funny part about this company is the fastest growing part of it, the emerging markets, is also the most profitable, which is very counterintuitive versus most industrials, because there's no big aftermarket service base. And we have to work on getting a better acceleration and better profitability out of the developed piece of the company.
And this idea that while the debate goes on, Nick, in Washington about the debt ceiling, while you've got companies like Tyco that seem to just be able to continue their business, it's almost as if we got parallel universes at work.
It is almost a different universe. Part of it's energy related with flow, and that's got a long run well into the middle of the decade. And another part that's very interesting, though, is the idea, instead of having a passive monitoring security system for your home or small business, they've now made it interactive so you can actually control in absence from being at your residence, you can control your home. The energy, the light, the safety. You can certainly also control any water damage because they have a solenoid valve that will shut off the water should the temperature and the heat system fail. And insurers like that. Contents damage way down. You can also make sure you know exactly who's coming in and going out of your home. Or if somebody decides...
Why don't investors, at least from your perspective, why don't they appreciate the changes, let's say, at 3M and appreciate the business structure at Tyco right now?
Tyco was frustrating. It did underperform Pimm for a long time when we had the initial recovery.
Right.
Because there was not a lot of early cycle. I mean, a tremendous amount of aftermarket. Now the aftermarket is actually going to grow because your recurring revenue is going to move up $15, $20 a customer. So they have this huge installed base of over 8 million customers, which they in turn can take now and go out and upgrade. So they've trained their distributors to help them sell the new systems, which take a little bit longer. They're always in the home with the customer to try to help explain all these features and benefits. But this is a very unique situation in terms of its ability to have a disproportionately large impact on the return on invested capital, as well as this aftermarket, which is kind of the deep keel of Tyco. And in this kind of environment, you'd love to have a company with 45% recurring revenue, half of which is going to see growth of twice, 2x, what it's ever seen in the past. So that's kind of an unusual effect. But most people are like, hey, when are we going to sell this flow? We're going to break this company up, kind of like ITT.
Right, exactly.
And so, you
you
haven't really...
You say that's not going to happen.
Who's that? No. We're running the business. Ed's really, he's all set to bring home the bacon. We had a little scare there with Schneider asking, hey, anybody want to dance? They got the steps all figured out.
All right, I want to thank you very much. Nick Heymann coming to us from William Blair. He likes the shares of 3M and Tyco.